All right, let's jump right into this. Today, we're diving into the Edgar Cayce chapter from Ryuho Okawa's How to Repel Evil Spirits. We're going to use the ideas in there as a guide to explore that deep, deep connection between our physical health and our spiritual well-being. You know that feeling, right? Where you're just drained, persistently tired, stressed out, and no amount of sleep seems to fix it. You feel like you're running on fumes, but you can't for the life of you figure out why. Well, what if the answer isn't purely physical? We're about to look at a spiritual angle on that exact feeling. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the link between being sick and your spiritual energy. Then we'll get into practical ways to recharge not just your body, but from your environment and even your relationships. After that, we'll talk about the most powerful medicine of all, hope. And we'll wrap up by talking about how you can be the true protagonist of your own life. So, what's the big idea here? Well, the source asks us to stop thinking about our physical self and our spiritual self as two separate things. They're not. They're completely intertwined, like two sides of the same coin. When one is hurting, the other feels it immediately. There's no way around it. This brings us to the idea of a spiritual vibration. When we're physically worn out, the energy we give off becomes, well, rough and coarse. It's like a radio signal full of static. And here's the thing, that low-frequency staticky energy is apparently on the same wavelength as negative spiritual influences. It's kind of like you're accidentally tuning into the wrong station, leaving you more open to things you'd rather avoid. To really get this, you have to understand the concept of the spirit body. Just imagine an invisible, energetic blueprint of your physical self. The source explains that if a part of your physical body is sick, say your stomach, then the spiritual version of your stomach is also wounded. It's a direct, one-to-one mirror. And wow, this image just perfectly captures that feeling of isolation, doesn't it? When our spirit body is wounded, we can't resonate at the same high frequency as the positive, joyful energy out there. We become just like a bird that's been injured and is falling away from the flock, completely out of sync and unable to keep up. Okay, so if being tired can actually wound our spirit, what in the world do we do about it? How do we heal? Well, that brings us to recharging. And the great news here is that healing is a two-way street. We can use both spiritual and physical tools to get our energy back. The book lays out two really clear paths. Path one is spiritual, using practices like prayer to channel healing energy into your physical body. But just as crucial is path two, which is where things get super practical. You can use physical actions, like just getting some rest, to directly recharge your spirit body. And this is the key point, really. Taking care of your body is spiritual work. All those things we're told to do. Eat well, get enough sleep, actually use our vacation days, get outside. These aren't just for our physical health. They are absolutely essential for recharging our spiritual batteries. And speaking of nature, the source has a very specific recommendation. Get yourself to a warm beach. There's apparently a unique spiritual energy in that mix of sun, sand, and ocean that's seen as incredibly powerful for just washing away the stress of our day-to-day lives. All right, so we've covered our bodies and our environment, but there's another huge factor that affects our energy: the people we hang out with. Our relationships can either be a battery charger or a total energy vampire. The book uses this great analogy from physics. Think of everyone as having their own frequency, their own wavelength. When you're constantly around people whose wavelengths just clash with yours, it creates this constant friction. It's like tiny particles trapped in a can, all bouncing off each other and building up pressure. And that pressure, that's stress. But hey, the flip side is also true. Positive energy is totally contagious. You know those people who are just so energetic and cheerful? They radiate their life force. And that good energy can literally float to you and lift you up, just like how a passionate leader can get their whole team fired up. So the advice is pretty clear. Find those people. So now we're going to turn inward. We're going to talk about the most powerful tool we have for our own well-being. This isn't about denying reality. It's about building a balanced and truly powerful mindset, especially when we're not feeling our best. The source suggests a really practical three-step approach. First, use modern medicine. It's there for a reason. Second, take a good, honest look at your lifestyle. Are there habits that might be contributing to how you feel? And third, like we just talked about, surround yourself with good people. This is such an important point. Embracing a spiritual perspective does not mean you have to reject science. The book is very clear that medical advancements are a good thing, a tool we're meant to use. It's all about bringing these two worlds together, not choosing one over the other. So during tough times, we're faced with a choice. We can fall into this hellish mindset, right? Feeling like a victim, complaining, being suspicious, always finding fault in others, or we can consciously choose a healing mindset. That means practicing gratitude, wishing others well, and deliberately thinking about happy memories. And that brings us to the ultimate prescription. At the end of the day, more powerful than anything else is hope, just holding on to the belief that things can get better, that you can heal. That's the real foundation for recovery. This last section brings everything home with a really empowering call to action. It's all about shifting your perspective from being a passive bystander in your life to becoming the active creator of it. The source uses this brilliant distinction between two Japanese characters, one for subordinate and one for master. You can see yourself as the subordinate, just a secondary character getting pushed around by life, or you can realize that you are the master. You are the primary driving force in your own story. And this right here is the core message. In this world, the person with the physical body, that's you, is the one with the power. You are the one living proactively. Other influences might be there, sure, but they are secondary. You are in the driver's seat. The final metaphor here is so vivid. It's a command to stop being passive. It's about taking the reins of your own soul, even if you have to whip it into action, and telling yourself firmly, I am the one creating my own life. It's about taking decisive personal responsibility. And so, that leaves us with one last, powerful question to think about. In the story that you are living every single day, are you just a side character reacting to the plot? Or have you stepped up and claimed your role as the main character? Who is the protagonist of your life?